morning, everybody. Thanks for coming today. Happy Easter and I guess Passover and Ramadan. All right? I think so, yeah. Yeah, so, and Buddha's birthday happened recently, so a lot of major holidays around this time of year. So today I was going to talk about Zen practice, and in our practice we try to be aware here and now for the sake of being aware here and now. I say this all the time. As much as possible, just be aware here and now without expectations and without being caught up in our ideas and beliefs. But usually we ignore direct here now experience by being caught up in our ideas, beliefs, and expectations. We believe here now reality corresponds to the ideas and beliefs that we have about it. And we live our lives based on these ideas and beliefs rather than living our lives based on being aware here and now, rather than living our lives based on direct here and now awareness. Our practice is to see when we're doing that, see when we're caught up in our ideas, beliefs, and expectations, and allow that to drop away and to resume the practice of being aware here and now for the sake of being aware here and now. So in our practice, we allow our expectations and egocentric beliefs and ideas to naturally drop away. We don't try and forcefully get rid of them. We're not being critical of ourselves when ideas, beliefs, and expectations come up. We're just seeing when that's happening, seeing when we're caught, seeing when we're believing in the limited conceptual models of reality and being caught up in that, just seeing when that's going on and allowing that to just drop away and seeing it can drop away naturally by itself. We don't need to criticize ourselves or try to give ourselves the job of getting rid of our ideas and beliefs. Just see that it's happening and allow it to naturally drop away and resuming this practice of being aware here and now, once again, for the sake of being aware here and now. So moment after moment in our practice, we try to see and let go of how here now reality is ignored or overlooked, and to fully live here now reality. Once again, being aware here and now for the sake of being aware here and now, not because we want to get something out of this practice. Usually people start off the idea of wanting to get something out of this practice. But this is just to be aware that just let those ideas drop away and let expectations drop away and just resume this practice. Eventually it can be seen that here now reality could not correspond to the ideas and beliefs that we have about it. Ultimately, there's nothing to expect outside of here now reality. Ultimately, here now reality is an all-inclusive reality. This all-inclusive here now reality is our true life. We're not lacking anything. All the states that we think we're lacking are inseparable from our life here and now. We think, well, I don't have enlightenment or peace or freedom or wisdom. I want to get those states because I'm lacking them. But these states are inseparable from our life here and now. They're not something we're lacking. So just be aware here and now in all circumstances as much as possible. So as I mentioned, usually when people start out in Zen practice, they're caught up in countless ideas, beliefs, and assumptions about themselves, others, and the nature of reality. Countless ideas we're caught up in. Just this practice helps us realize how deeply entangled we are in the ideas we have. It helps us to see that we're completely caught up in this huge conceptual web, believing that reality corresponds to the concepts we have about it. And in doing this, we feel that we would like to gain states of peace, freedom, enlightenment, and wisdom, as I mentioned, thinking that I'm a separate individual who's lacking these states. I'd like to somehow get to the point where I could get these states. And people wonder how long will it be before I'm able to get these states? How long do I have to practice? And but we don't need to worry about that, because these states are inseparable from our life here and now. That isn't evident to us at first. But we eventually can realize that those states are inseparable from what our true life is. So we don't need to worry about how long we have to practice. Or we don't need to worry about what it'll be like. What will it be like when I get enlightenment? What will it be like when I attain states of peace, freedom, and wisdom? What will that be like? And then we want a conceptual explanation of what it's like. And we say, oh, that sounds pretty good. I think I'll try for that. But a practice with expectations is really not true practice. Expectations very naturally come up. But as soon as we see that, just let that go without a sense of criticism, without a sense of frustration. Just see that that's how it is. You don't have to be critical of yourself at all. So just be aware here and now without expectations and without holding on to our ideas and beliefs. This is hard for us to do because we're such highly conceptual beings. And we believe that knowing something or understanding something is to understand it conceptually. But that's a very limited way of understanding it. It's to truly understand it, we need to directly realize it, directly experience it. Then we can truly know. But if we're constantly looking for conceptual explanations of what our life is and what the different aspects of it are, we're cheating ourselves and just going for limited views rather than experiencing the actual direct reality. Steve talks about the taste of orange juice. And, no matter how vivid a conceptual description we get of orange juice, the flavor of orange juice, we'll never know until we have orange juice. We taste it directly. That's the only way we can know. But we're highly conceptual beings. We believe we're separate individuals. We're lacking, and we want to improve ourselves. Gain states of that we're lacking, and So very naturally, people start out with this expectation that the practice is about getting states that you're lacking. This was certainly the case with me when I started out, and I think it is probably for most people. One time, Katagiri Roshi was asked by a person. The person said, "If I sit Zazen, will enlightenment come to me?" And Katagiri Roshi said, "No. Even if you sit Zazen, enlightenment won't come to you." Another person said, "Well, if I practice, will I be able to get to enlightenment?" And Katagiri Roshi said, "No. Enlightenment is not something separate from you that has to come to you or that you have to go towards. Enlightenment is inseparable from your life here and now. You don't need to chase after it in a dualistic way." One time, this was shortly after Katagiri Roshi had come to Minneapolis, and a Buddhist teacher from another tradition came, and his view of practice and enlightenment is a little bit different than Katagiri Roshi's. But anyway, he said to us students of Katagiri Roshi's in a lecture, he said, "Katagiri Roshi is a very nice man. He's a very nice man because he has realized enlightenment. He doesn't need to sit Zazen anymore because he's realized enlightenment. But you have not realized enlightenment, so you have to practice Zazen. But he's a very nice man. He sits and keeps you company while you attempt to attain enlightenment. He doesn't need to do this, but he's doing it for you." So later on, Katagiri Roshi is a very tactful person. He didn't correct the person right then and there, but later on, a week or so later, when the person was not there, he said to all of us, that is not what our practice is. It is not to get something that we're lacking. It's not about trying to attain enlightenment. Practice is to live the enlightenment that is inseparable from our life here and now. So Katagiri Roshi sometimes would say, Zazen is not like playing pachinko. And pachinko is a game that was very popular in Japan, maybe 30, 40 years ago. It may still be popular. I don't know. It's a game very similar to pinball. And in this game, you try to get the balls in the hole. And just like in pinball, and if you get the balls in the hole, then bells will ring and lights will flash and tickets will fly out of the machine saying, "You have won a prize. You have won a bottle of whiskey. You have won a box of candy. You have won a prize." So, but Katagiri Roshi says Zazen is not like playing pachinko. We're not waiting for fancy experiences to come. We're not waiting for, sweet candy to come to us. It's just about living out here now reality, not about trying to get something. So sometimes people ask, well, how long will it take before I get enlightenment? Once again, looking at it in a dualistic way. And as one teacher said, in answer to this question, how long do you have to practice? He said, this teacher said, until you die. And the student who asked this question was very disappointed. He was hoping it would be much shorter length of time. He was hoping it'd be, maybe a couple of years or something. It would, maybe like going to grad school. You go to grad school, take you a couple of years to get a PhD or master's or something like that. I do that. He was hoping the teacher would say something like that, but the teacher said, when asked how long you need to practice, he said, until you die. The student was very unhappy with that answer. And Katagiri Roshi was asked that question one time. A student asked, well, how long must we practice? How long do we have to practice? And Katagiri Roshi said, life after life. Life after life. They said, forever. And then the student said, what do you mean by forever? And Katagiri Roshi said, at least 3,000 kalpas. So that's a very long time indeed. I will define the kalpa for those of you who haven't heard it. There are several definitions. One definition of a kalpa is to imagine a field, to imagine a huge mountain, bigger than Mount Everest. And once every 100 years, a celestial maiden wearing a diaphanous gown comes down from a celestial realm and just lets her celestial robe gently drape over a small corner of this huge mountain. And the amount of time that it will take for this huge mountain to be worn down to a fine powder by just this gentle rubbing once every 100 years, that's one kalpa. And then there's another definition of the kalpa that's almost as bad. And this involves a celestial gentleman wearing celestial overalls. And he comes down to this huge field, huge, unfathomably huge field. And it's filled with poppy seeds. And once every 100 years, he picks out a poppy seed. And once this huge, unfathomably huge field is empty of poppy seeds, that's one kalpa. And Katagiri Roshi says we have to practice for at least 3,000 of them. And I heard that when he said that to the student, I said, oh my goodness, that sounds terrible. I hope he's kidding. But, in a way, he wasn't kidding. What Katagiri Roshi wanted us to do was to live out here now reality. This all-inclusive here now reality, all-inclusive temporally, all-inclusive spatially, all-inclusive of everything. Live that reality. That's what we have to do. Our practice is to live now, not to try and get some idea of, gosh, when can I stop practicing? When will I finally get my result? Our practice is to fully live out this reality. It's all inclusive, temporally, spatially, all inclusive in every way. I remember when I first started out in practice, I was thinking, well, it'd be so great when I get enlightenment. And it'll be especially wonderful when my friends hear about the fact I've gotten enlightenment. That they'll really have a high opinion of me then. They might, when they hear that I've attained enlightenment, they might say, we never expected much of Norm. We never thought he'd amount to more than a hill of beans. But did you hear he got enlightenment? Did you hear that? It's truly remarkable. And then, I think when I go to my high school reunion as a fully enlightened man, how great that will be. Gosh, Norm, enlightened person. Wow. Never thought that would happen. He was such a loser back in high school. And sometimes we hear about the powers that go along with this practice, developing powers. We didn't emphasize it. My teachers, Katagiri Roshi and Suzuki Roshi, didn't emphasize this. But sometimes when you're reading a book, you'll read about these powers that sometimes come from practicing. And, you know, I was thinking, boy, that would really be something to have those powers. That would really impress people, like be able to walk on water like Christ did. Man, that would be very impressive. I saw a film about a person walking on water. And but how he did it was he had these huge flotation devices on his feet, and he was walking along the water in that way. And he would wave at the speedboats that were going by. It's kind of a comical situation. I'm sure when Christ walked on water, it was a much more majestic situation. And I heard about levitation. Some people say that you know, once you really become proficient in Zen practice and meditation, you are able to levitate. And I thought, wow, that would be great, wouldn't it? You know, I could really impress people. I could give lectures while levitating, and you know, people would really be impressed with my lectures, because obviously I was a special guy, because for gosh sakes, he's levitating. Geez. So I didn't seriously entertain these ideas, but it's not about getting something, not about getting powers or getting a good reputation or getting something that you think you're lacking. It's just about living out here now reality without expectations, without being caught up in ideas. If expectations come, just realize that and let go. If you find yourself caught up in ideas, just realize that and let go, and resume this practice again and again. And in this practice of here now awareness, it can be realized that here now reality is not something that can be pinned down. This here now reality manifests in such a way, it looks like there are lots of separate individuals, things, and phenomena. And there should be lots of individuals and things that exist as separately, and that persist through time and move through space and interact with each other. And it seems like a reality of lots of separate things. But in carefully investigating this reality, this here now reality, it becomes evident that separately existing, persisting things can't be found. But yet this reality where separately existing, persisting things cannot be found shows up as a reality. It looks like separately existing, persisting things. So what is it? Is it a reality of separate things, or is it a reality of oneness? Which is it? Can we pin that down? Can we grasp an idea about this? Oh, it's all one. Oh, it's all multiplicity and separation. Or maybe it's both oneness and multiplicity. We can grasp both. Or maybe it's neither multiplicity or oneness, or neither multiplicity, or I forget how I'm supposed to say this. It's, you know, you can't pin it down anyway, no matter how you try to conceptually pin it down, you can't pin it down. So when this becomes evident, then it's clear that we should stop trying to pin it down. But yet, as I mentioned, we're highly conceptual beings. This habit of trying to pin things down conceptually and figure them out just is very deeply rooted in us. We have to find ourselves doing this again and again, and continually let go and resume this practice. In this practice, we're not trying to throw out our ideas and beliefs, but rather to see them as pointers that give us suggestion in our investigation of direct here now experience. We don't throw out our ideas. They're very helpful in everyday life, where things seem to be in dualistic relationship to each other. They're very helpful in communicating, very helpful in as pointers to help us see what our life is. But it's not, the point isn't to grasp these ideas. Again and again, we need to let go and really live this life, which is our true life. In this practice of awareness here and now, it can be realized that here now reality is a reality of wholeness, totality, universal reality. It's ultimately an undivided reality, yet it manifests with the appearance of all these separations and divisions. Don't grasp any ideas I'm saying about this. These were all just pointers to give us suggestions in our investigation of direct here now experience. Don't grasp any ideas of this. There's nothing outside of this reality. It's nothing in relationship to it. Here now reality is a formless, boundless, beginningless, endless reality in which no separate things can be found. Each seemingly separate thing or being is a manifestation of here now reality. This here now reality can't be objectified or explained. It can't be hidden. There's nothing separate from it that could hide it. And this reality is already known in the sense that it's already directly experienced by everybody right now. It's just we overlook this direct experience and go with our conceptual models and believe that. So we don't need to try and figure it out. Whatever we conceptually figured out will not be it. So everything is a manifestation of this reality, and it's being directly experienced now. In the practice of here now awareness or awakeness, we can see that we are inseparable from all beings. Everything you meet is your own life in the sense that you're inseparable from it. Our true life is the life of all beings, and we try to take care of ourselves and all beings with compassion. Whatever we meet is our own life. This is a life to be lived with compassion. We're taking care of our own life when we take care of the lives of others. This is the life that we must uphold and protect. This is the life of all beings. So in this practice, it can be realized that all beings are influencing each being, and each being is influencing all beings. Here now reality is a reality in which all beings are mutually influencing each other and enabling all beings to be as they are. To help all beings is to fully participate in and live this here now reality where all beings are mutually influencing and helping each other. To fully participate in and live this here now reality is to help all beings and to be helped by all beings. In the practice of awareness here and now, we can see and let go of how here now reality is ignored and fully live here now reality. This directly experienced here now reality is our true life, our true self, our true nature. Once again, don't grasp ideas of this, just see this as a pointer to this reality, to be directly experienced and lived. When we first start out in this practice, we usually think that I, separate ego, self, me, should be aware. I, separate ego, self, norm, should be aware. But eventually, it can be seen that our practice is just to be aware, awake, here and now, without being caught up in ideas of an ego self who's awake, or being caught up in ideas of awareness or awakeness. Our practice is just to be aware, awake here and now, without being caught up in any ideas about it at all. Eventually, it can be seen that our true life, our true self, our true nature is the Buddha nature, which is all-inclusive awareness here and now, all-inclusive awareness or awakeness here and now. Seems like I'm giving a definition to Buddha nature, all-inclusive awareness, awakeness here and now. But that's just a pointer. Buddha nature is not something that can be defined. It can't be seen objectively or understood conceptually, but yet it's our life that's being directly experienced now. As my teacher Kadaguri Roshi used to say, and as I have mentioned all the time, Kadaguri Roshi said, "You are Buddha, all beings are Buddha." All beings are Buddha in the sense that all beings are manifestations of this Buddha nature. And this is not an idea to be grasped, but a pointer to reality to be directly experienced and lived. Our practice is to fully, wholeheartedly live this awareness or awakeness here and now. This practice helps ourselves and all beings to fully participate in and live this here now reality is to help all beings and to be helped by all beings. Okay. Well, do you have any questions or comments about this? Yes, Mary.
So we're gonna do this a little different. We'll pass the microphone around when we ask the question. So let me just get this to you here.
So I'm going to ask a question that I know is potentially misdirected and misleading, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Good.
How is, how is what Vladimir Putin is doing helping all beings?
Well, he's functioning together with all beings, whether he realizes it or not.
I'm sorry, what?
He's functioning together with all beings, whether he realizes it or not. He doesn't realize it. He's completely locked in to a dualistic view of what his life is. He's completely locked into his limited conceptual models about what reality is. And he's acting based on ignoring his actual experience and living his life on this limited dualistic conceptual model of what reality is. And but whether he realizes this or not, his life is going on together with all beings. Conventionally speaking, it looks like he's doing terrible things. I agree. Conventionally, I would agree. But his life is beyond how it looks just conventionally. His life is more than that. Kadaguri Roshi used to say, all beings are Buddha. You are Buddha, all beings are Buddha, including Putin. Kadaguri didn't say including Putin. But
I know.
But So as much as possible, try to take care of them with compassion. How do we do that?
How do we do that?
Yeah, case by case, case by case. We have to make a great effort. The best way to do it is to fully live this life where all beings are supporting all beings, where all beings are living this one inseparable life. That's how the best way to do it is to really live this life. Right in the midst of a situation that conventionally looks terrible, of Putin, based on some idea of what Russia should be, invades and kills people and bombs hospitals and everything. It looks terrible what he's doing. But the best way to help him is to really live this life. This is the practice of how all sentient beings are saved, to really live this life. There are always going to be people who latch on to a dualistic conceptual model of how reality is and label, well, he's a horrible person. Oh, this guy over here, he's pretty good though. And we get all these caught up in these dualistic models of how things are and how they should be. But to really save all beings is to live this life. That's the best way we can do it. Live this practice of awareness here and now, which includes all beings and is to fully participate in this life where all beings are mutually helping each other. But we're so deeply, and most people are so deeply locked into the dualistic view of how it is. They're so deeply attached to their conceptual model of how reality is that this doesn't make sense to them. Doesn't make sense.
Well, I can get deeply attached to my own conceptual models, that's for sure.
Well, me
And
too.
so
Me too.
it seems for me, the practice is just to let go of that
Yeah,
when I see that come up.
that's right.
And it comes up over and over and over.
And yet our practice is to let go over and over and over, because this deeply rooted habit, a deeply rooted belief that reality corresponds to these dualistic models, that's so deeply rooted in us. And that's why we need to practice forever, because these limited views come up. There's not we can't say, well, will I ever reach a point where these limited views never come up anymore? Well, you want me to give you a limited view? No, we need to see again and again. So you're right, let go again and again. Carry out this practice again and again. That's good.
I've listened to you say that to me many times.
Yeah, so that's a good question that you asked. Anything else? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, this is kind of related to Mary's question. But I mean, it's to what extent are the people in Ukraine lacking nothing? It seems like they lack quite a bit.
Mhm. Yeah, conventionally speaking, they're lacking food and safe environment and, their safety. I mean, they're very much lacking in a conventional sense. But everybody, the people in Ukraine, Vladimir Putin, any person or individual or thing you point to is living this great life where nothing is lacking. We try to live that life as much as we can by seeing how we ignore it, letting that go, and resuming the practice of living that life as best we can. again and again, again and again. Conventionally speaking, we'll always see people who seem to be lacking. That's how the world shows up. But we need to see beyond the conventional dualistic model of what our life is and really live this life where we can see beyond one-sided ideas about it. It's all one, or it's multiplicity, or it's, we're just trying to get ideas about it and trying to get explanations about it. We need to go beyond that and really see it and really live it. And that's where saving all beings is really living this life. Is that okay, Mike?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything from out in cyberspace? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.